Uh, we are starting a reading out here of one particular person, and before I start, I would say press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update. You can contact me via email address or my phone number, which are mentioned out here, that you are seeing out here. Now let's start the reading. I'll just in the starting, I will tell you whatever important things that I see on this particular hand. This is the heart line that we see. There's an island like formation out here. I'm just going to point out there's an island like here, just under the third finger, the ring finger. The second part is that the headline, I'm saying the money line. This is basically the money line going towards Saturn. Saturn is basically for money and possessions, wisdom. And there's a small branch at the early stage, from early stages till the crossing over the headline. The age is 35, and before the age of 35, at this particular portion of the line, you would notice before the age of 35, you would notice that there are few lines pointing inwards towards the mount of Mars. Mars is a red planet. Red means anger, aggression, and fire. And Mars, as such, is a planet that is good for money. But a line should not, a money line should not move towards, or a branch should not move towards the area of Mars. So it is something like burning of your cash, and that is not a good sign. And this all happens before the age of 35. This one is at this is at an early stage, and this one is at a later stage, somewhere at the age of approximately 32 or so. It could be plus or minus, something like that, this particular line. So whatever efforts the person does, it goes for a waste. The money the person might have earned might also go for a waste. You would notice that we are looking at the left hand out here. It's generally said we should take a look at the right hand and not the left hand, but I take into account both the hands, left as well as right. Left is the passive hand, right is the active hand. Left is for the past, right is for the present, but it is not that both hands are different. So don't think that we should not refer to the left hand. We should refer to the both hands to come to a conclusion, because both hands belong to the same person. The other aspect is, you would notice the island that I had mentioned on the heart line. The islands generally should not be on any line, and if they are found on the line of heart, it could be some emotional trauma, or it could mean some emotional turmoil the person goes through for some period of time. So this is one aspect. There are few branches over the heart line as well. These are lines of temptation. So this is the person kind of gets distracted a little bit, but as such the line is deep and clear, because generally the line should be crystal clear without any branches or any kind of a thing. And if it ends somewhere on the mount of Saturn, Saturn is for money, so it means your heart is angled towards Saturn, which means it's angling towards money, and the person is grounded and the person is responsible. So all these qualities come to that particular person. You would also notice that the heart line, this is the heart line, and the sun line, this is basically the carrier line. This, the age at which like it becomes solid, it becomes really solid and strong, a deep and clear line, is after the age of 53. So in this particular hand, we find that after the age of 53, things are likely to be much more better. You would notice that there's a circular line out here just under the first finger. This is basically in palmistry it is said the Solomon line. Solomon means like this person would come to know beforehand that what is going to happen in the future. It could come in dreams, it could come in various forms, or through the practice of astrology, palmistry, or something like that. It could be any form. So this is the other aspect. Now we are going to basically move on to the right hand, but before we move on to the right hand, I would just tell you one more line. The line that you see pointing towards the amount of mercury. Amount of mercury is basically, this is the amount of mercury, and you would notice perpendicular lines out here. These aren't too strong, but they are reasonably good, and these lines are depicting skill. And skills basically mean, skills can be in any form, because this is the area of technical expertise. Technical expertise could be accounting, mathematics, statistics, economics, medical science. It could be engineering. It could be anything to do with the mind and the skill. So people who have perpendicular lines over this particular area are basically sharpening their skills. I think we would first go to the right hand and then probably come back to the left hand if necessary. So now we are on the right hand. This is basically the right hand that we see out here, and you'd notice that that in both the hands you'd find that the headline, this is basically the headline, and this is moving a little bit upwards, something like this. So any line that is moving upward pointing towards the amount of mercury is generally considered to be a good sign. Any line like at a early stage, this is the earliest stage, this is after the age of 18, and this is till 35. So any line pointing a little bit downwards, pointing towards the amount of moon, is kind of disappointments. So anything, if the line moves upward that you see out here, that you see out here in this particular case, it is the opposite of disappointment. It is some kind of winning situation the person comes into, or some good things are happening, that's why the person is elated, the person is happy, or some good things are happening, that's why the person is going to be elated. So this is what the upward lines from the headlines basically mean. Compared to the left hand, you would notice on the amount of mercury, you would notice that the mercury line is comparatively much more stronger. So stronger lines means much more stronger set of skill. Same indications can be seen on the money line. If you would notice that on the money line, this is basically the money line, and it ends before it touches the headline. So this is age before the age of 35, so it ends somewhere at the age of 31, 32, something like this, and a line before the age of 31, 32, a line is going towards the amount of Mars. So all these indications are bad indications, but at the most earliest stage, if we kind of I'm just kind of tweaking the image a little bit, something like this. Okay, now what we see out here is that this is the money line. This is kind of a river, and this is the main river. Any line moving out towards this particular side is considered to be a tributary, which is kind of splitting away from the main river. So resources kind of go away from this particular person. And any line joining in from the amount of moon, something like this, is something like small tributaries joining in to the main river. So this is at an earlier stage, the person could have got help from somebody or the other, and so it's a beautiful sign to have these lines. But the inward line that we talked about is a bad indication. Apart from that, you would notice that the money line kinds of ends somewhere out here, somewhere at the age of approximately 33 or so. So some problems are likely to come up in this particular person's life, but before before we look any further, you would notice that a new line has already developed and kind of goes something like this and reaches the mount of Saturn. Okay, and it is kind of pointing from the mount of Moon, pointing towards the mount of Saturn. So this person basically earns through public appreciation. The person basically, the problem that the person is facing is going to like go away. The person could face problems, but still the person would not have so much of a problem that if the main new line was not there at all. So it's kind of a major transformation that is happening in this particular person's life. This person is also a doctor. That's what I came to know. And one thing I wish to tell you is that generally there's an impression that long headline basically depicts everything related to, like, if a person has got a really solid headline, then there's going to be more intelligence in that particular person, but it is not so. The length of the line does not determine the intelligence of the person. A strong line can depict strength of mind, but it doesn't mean intelligence. There's a difference between intelligence and strength of mind. And a strong line and a long line could mean that, like, imagine these lines to be the boundaries, the physical boundaries the person kind of creates around himself if a person has got a long line of head. But in this case, we find that the headline is not so long. It is in fact very short. You would notice out here it kind of just reaches out here, and that's where it basically ends. So it could be a beautiful sign to have, because what is happening is that, imagine these are the planets. These are 4 planets out here, and there's a gap out here. This is all the gap. So this is the area of your imagination, visualization, romance. This is the area of coolness, calmness, tenacity. So the movement between these particular connections, and this is the area of skill, this is the area of creativity, this is the area of money management, wisdom, this is the area of organizational skills. So what is happening is all these things are intermingling together much more easily. I hope you understand what I'm trying to convey to you. Like, there's an interconnection between all these planets in a much better way, because the line is much more shorter. If you would notice, I will give a big example, something like Ram Jethmalani, the very topmost lawyer, and he's no longer with us, but he had a comparatively very short line, something like this. So even a short line can give immense amount of intelligence and skill, and it becomes better because there's a movement. In this case, the movement is pointing towards the mount of Mercury, because Mercury is for calculations, communication, technical skills, business skills, all kind of basically skills are seen out here. So that is the reason why even short line is good, but they should point towards Mercury. So this is one aspect. And because there's a split between the headline, it appears there's a split between the headlines. So the person, I just draw once more, like, imagine the line was just simple like this. So the line originates at this particular place and ends out here. So the field of vision or the field of thought process is just limited only till out here. But when we find that the headline is splitting into 2, so a field of vision or the field of thought process basically widens. So this is movement towards the imagination part, and the downward line is towards the imagination part. So all these things are basically covered in the field of vision or the field of thought process of this particular person. So books say that such a person could be a genius as well. So that's a good indication that we see out here. Apart from that, you would also notice that the headline at this intersection where the age is 35, it basically changes its course. So at the age of 35, major changes are likely to take place, and which is going to change the course on which the person is basically following. So it's a major turnaround for that particular person at that particular age. As far as the career line goes, you would notice this is a very dull kind of a line that is coming. So it's a comparatively dull kind of a career at the initial start. The person could have made immense amount of money even during this particular period, because the person has got good skill. The person is angling, the heart line is angling towards Saturn, so the person is angling towards money. So those things would have come. I'm not denying those things, but still there would be, because the line of Sun is dull during the earlier period till the age of 35. So probably there could be doubts that might have been there, and doubts basically destroys everything. So a dull line is something like, a dull sun line is something like cloudy sky, where you, and it is kind of clouds coming into your room and you're not able to see anything. You can't find your way outside. So it's a bad indication. But as the person progresses, the line becomes much stronger somewhere after the age of 35 or so. Then it kind of ends also somewhere around the age of 42 or so, and one of the line branches and goes towards the Mercury, which is the area of skill, and the other moves towards the Sun. So all of these lines are good. So the career prospects are likely to be extremely bright. It would be a combination of skill and the energizing of your work, and a V-like portion when you see pointing towards a finger is a good indication. It is kind of two things. V, generally when we say V, people think it's a victory, but it's not so. It is something like these tips of the finger are our sensors, and from these sensors the energies are penetrating, and energies or rays are penetrating, and they are entering your palm. So when they enter your palm, they're entering your life. This is the area of, this is the finger of creativity, art, music, and this is also the area of your career. So when they enter, basically what they're doing is they're getting accumulated during in this particular area. So what's happening is that there's accumulation of good things that are going to take place somewhere at this particular area, and the age is approximately, the age at this point could be approximately the V. Whenever we see a V, so the age approximately could be around it could be around, if this is 35, so if this is 53, so somewhere in the middle it is 44, so before the age of 44, so it could be somewhere at the age of 40 or so we find this V-like formation, although it's not a very strong kind of a V, but yet it is there. The other thing that we notice out here, you had seen that there was an island kind of a formation on that particular on his left hand, but in this case the heart line is ending out here, you would notice, and a new one is developing out here, and a line is also running parallel out here. So a parallel line, generally these lines should be very distinct and clear. They should be double kind of a lines. So it's kind of your heart is in two boats. Either the person is into two relationships, or they are kind of traveling in two boats at the same time, which is said that they are likely, it's going to wobble because they're going to be instability. So this could be break in the heart line, and that too under the finger of Sun, somewhere close to the finger of Sun. So this could depict some kind of it could be heart related or eye related issues, but not necessarily every time there's a break these things are going to crop up in this particular person's life. It could be just a breakup. The breakup in the money line could also be some kind of a, could be a break in one's relationship as well. So it could be either way. And the break in the money line could also be more responsibility coming onto this particular person. It could be losses also, or it could be relationship issues also that we see on the line of money. You would notice that I am not looking at the side of the palm at all, because I don't consider there to be too much, because those are just line of attachments and not necessarily line of marriages. The person's heart line is ending purely on the amount of Saturn, so such a person would make huge amounts of money. That is considered to be a good sign. As far as the branches that I had mentioned on the left hand are not so much more prominent out here, just a small branch that we see out here. So a small amount of distraction, but nothing significant. Those are not going to affect the person. You would also notice that there's a huge padding that you see out here on the mount of Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet for administration, religion, politics, and honor. So a planet with a strong mount, the padding around it, which means automatically these qualities that I've mentioned come to this person much more easily. And the padding we can see also out here, and that basically means that the person could have good memory and good analytical kind of skills, and those analytical or communication or technical skills can be applied in any sphere as well. So that's it for right now, I guess. And as far as the lifeline goes, this is the area of fire, this is the area of fuel, and any line kind of coming like this are trouble lines. It is something like you are traveling in a car and this is your engine, and lines that are coming from here are coming and touching your lifeline, which means they are damaging it. It could be you are traveling in a car and a scooter or a cycle or a car or a motorcycle coming and striking your life, which means some kind of problems that can arise, not necessarily only physical, but it could be otherwise as well. But because the quality of the line as such is strong, and that automatically says that those problems that are coming are going to be bearable. Those are not going to affect the person in some major way as such. So for now, only this, and rest I would be talking over and discussing with you. And before I end the video, I would just say that generally people think that money line importance is huge. I say money line importance is just 15%. I talked about in this video how Mercury and other planets are playing out, and we can come to know about money not just from money line but from almost all possible lines, even heart line, head line, lifeline, sun line, Mercury, Venus, Mars, everything. Another thing is, a saint once said to me, you don't need to go to an astrologer or a palmist to know about your future, because you already know your future. Present is a result of past. How will be my future? Future depends upon what you are doing in the present. We are products of our thoughts, so the thoughts that come to our mind are the most important. Keep positive thoughts, positive things are going to happen. Be with positive people, they are going to take you in a positive area. Wrong company would take you wrong places, right company would take you right places. That's it for now. Bye and take care.